Alright, so full disclaimer before we get into the video, as I know there's going to be a bunch of new players who are jumping into Master Duel because of the anniversary, looking to play Blue Eyes, and they might stumble across this video looking for a Blue Eyes deck list, and I don't want to be baiting new players into thinking Blue Eyes is something that it isn't, so full disclaimer, if you are a new player and you haven't seen Blue Eyes before and you don't know what it's about, Blue Eyes in Yu-Gi-Oh! Typically is more of a for fun deck list than a competitive deck list, and what I mean by that is, Blue Eyes typically isn't really that strong in comparison to most other higher tier deck lists in this game. With that being said though, I don't want to scare you guys away from playing Blue Eyes, or more specifically Chaos Maxx, as it's definitely a hell of a lot of fun to play, and you can most definitely climb the ranks with it. I was just absolutely shit stomping the ladder with it earlier, and I've already seen multiple variations of deck lists very similar to the one in this video that have already reached Master with it, so it's definitely a deck list that can climb the ranks ladder. It's just, it will take quite a bit longer to climb than if you played something that was a lot higher tier or a top tier meta deck list. It's just a deck list that's designed to have more fun rather than to be more competitive. That's all I'm trying to get at. And last thing before we get on with the rest of the video, the deck list in this video was heavily inspired by a YouTuber called Light Dragon. I'll link to his channel in the description down below, as essentially I saw one of his deck lists and it seemed like a hell of a lot of fun, so I took his deck list, adjusted it a bunch, cutting a few of the cards, cutting some of the extra deck, but essentially it is his deck list or his idea, so I did want to give him a shout out, especially considering he's someone that seems to be a bit more of a Blue Eyes specialist who has been getting Master consistently with Blue Eyes, so I thought I'd shout out his channel. He's definitely got some much better replays on his channel than anything I could show you, so feel free to go check him out, and without further ado, let's get on with the video. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get to the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see some more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% of you watching this are even subscribed to the channel, meaning 65% of you haven't even subscribed yet. So if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, want to see some more deck lists from me in the future and more videos from me in the future, please remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this list. Alright, so this deck list can be broken up into two very easy steps. Step 1, break your opponent's field, and there is a shit ton of board breakers in this deck. We've got things like your Super Poly, which can fuse using your opponent's field, we've got your Lightning Storm, which can destroy your opponent's front row or their back row, your Raigeki destroying your opponent's monsters, your Feather Duster destroying your opponent's back row, got your Talons to steal your opponent's stuff, and of course we have Nadir Servant, which can send cards from your extra deck to the graveyard, such as your Eld Antinitis, which can pop your opponent's stuff, and additionally search for a copy of your Dogmatika Ecclesia, which leads to step 2, the one card combo to summon out Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. And this card, for you guys that don't know, is basically a gigantic, untargetable, indestructible boss monster with 4,000 attack and double piercing damage, which means if this thing swings into any monster in defense position, you're doing double damage, which is fantastic, because we're also playing Iblee, which is a monster you can give to your opponent which has 0 defense, you give it to your opponent in defense position, 0 defense, 4,000 attack doubled to 8,000, your opponent just dies instantly. Now rather than just sit here and bore you guys by going through every single card in this deck list, I might as well just show you the gameplay and explain how all the cards work during the gameplay instead. But as per usual, every single card in this deck list will be written out in the description down below, so if you're looking to build the deck list, just check the description, every single card will be written out down there. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into some gameplay showing this deck list shitting on people. Alright, so today I've got 6 replays to share with you guys. Now unfortunately, I do want to apologise beforehand. I did get all these replays inside Platinum, which if you guys are regular viewers of this channel, you'll know I try to get my replays inside of Master or at least Diamond, because that's obviously a better showing at the higher ranks. But last month was the release of Super Heavy Samurai, where I absolutely hate that deck list, so I just stayed the hell away from the ranked ladder, meaning this month I have decayed down to Platinum, which, I mean, at least it gets to show off just how good Blue Eyes can be at just shitting on the lower ranks, but yeah, ideally I would have got the replays inside Diamond, but I don't think it matters too much. You should get a good understanding of just how this deck list functions, and this deck list is more of a for fun deck list anyway, so the ranks don't particularly matter, but yeah, I do want to apologise beforehand. Normally I do try to get at least Diamond ranked sort of replays, but it is what it is. Blame Super Heavy Samurai. Alright. I mean, like I said earlier, there's plenty of replays or examples of people reaching Master tier with very similar deck lists to this one, so you can definitely reach Master with this deck list. It'll just take a lot longer than if you played something a lot more competitive or a lot more top tier, for example. Alright, so starting off with an Ash Blossom on my opponent's Pressure Planet Wraithsoth, or whatever this thing's name is. Yeah, I'm still surprised people are actually willing to play things like Kashtira still, considering just how nerfed this deck list is. I'm definitely willing to Ash Blossom the field spell when this deck list is bricky as all hell nowadays. Could have saved the Ash Blossom for maybe if you activated the spell card that you normally search with Unicorn, but didn't matter, he had Call by anyway, so whatever. And my opponent's going to go for a Baron de Floor, and reviving back for a very standard Kashtira nowadays end field after all the nerfs, bricking so hard they only end on a Baron. Alright, so activating my Feather Duster to remove my opponent's back row. Alright, summoning the Iblee. Link summoning with the Iblee, which of course sends it to the graveyard, and being sent to the graveyard means I can now put it on my opponent's side of the field in defensive position. 0 defense, of course. I'm going to trigger his effect to send a card from my extra deck to the graveyard. Because he used a monster effect, I can now use Talents to try to steal a monster. Basically just want to bait out the negate from the Baron. And now we're good to play the game, using our Talents to search for a copy of our Nadir Servant. Servant can send a card from my extra deck to the graveyard to search for a copy of my Dogmatika. Getting an extra card draw from our Garura that we sent to the graveyard. This card, because the next deck monster on the field, can special summon itself. On summon, searching for our Dogmatikamatrix. Matrix is an insane card, by the way, as it can search for two cards if your opponent has, or your opponent has a monster on the field. So I can search for 2 cards. Searching for the Ritual spell and the Ritual monster. Ritual summoning out using the card from the extra deck, which is of course going to be Herald. And Herald being sent to the graveyard is going to be a search as well. For our final piece, because we actually already have the Chaos form. Going to be stealing the attack over here as well. Not too relevant in this replay, but can come up in some of the other ones. Searching for our Chaos Maxx. Now, if you didn't have the Chaos form, by the way, this card has an additional effect where I could have sent another copy of Herald to the graveyard to search for the Chaos form, as long as I have my Ritual monster on the field, so... Using the 2 cards on field to make level 8, summon out your Chaos Maxx. And for a 1-card combo, we now have a 4000 attack double piercing monster, and our opponent knows what's about to happen, and he concedes. Alright, on to replay number 2. Alright, so the only thing I'm not too sure about this deck list is there's a couple of other ways you could run some more searches for Iblee, but I feel like this deck list doesn't actually need Iblee to win every game. It's just sort of a the ideal way to win. So I didn't want to go too hard on the Iblee search stuff, especially when playing 3 copies of the spell card that can search for any spell card in your deck list, the Thrust, so yeah. I don't know. That's going to be something you guys can test out for yourself. If you want more ways to access Iblee, there's certainly more ways to access it, such as you can play that Pyrrhus map, whatever it's called, or you can play another copy of Cynet Mining. I'm not sure if this card's necessarily needed for the combo, it's just makes it a lot more ideal, a lot easier to do. Alright, there's plenty of ways to search it in this deck list anyway, especially with like 3 copies of Thrust, but anyway. Opponents ended on a copy of Mirrorjade, and honestly, not that strong of an end field. 1 Super Poly can take it out, so... Yeah, definitely not the strongest branded end field. That's like one of the more older branded end fields, if anything. But anyway. Going to using my talents to now draw 2 additional cards, because our opponent used the monster effect. There's my Iblee. Iblee going to my opponent. Summoning out a Linguriboh. This card's fantastic, by the way. Essentially can negate just a trap card, so... Link 1 can negate a trap card, gives my opponent an Iblee. Because we have some extra stuff on the field, this guy can special summon himself. Searching for a copy of our Dogmatika. Grabbing a Maximus. Because we already had the Ritual spell. Ritual summoning. And by the way, because we gave our opponent an Iblee, that means the continuous spell here can search for 2 cards, rather than just searching for 1, which is another reason why maybe having more searches for Iblee is better. Not sure. Alright. Searching for your ritual monster. Activating this thing's effect. Searching for the ritual spell. Ritual summoning using the 2 level 4s. And unfortunately, I believe my opponent conceded again. I'm not even sure if I got a replay today, which I got to hit my opponent. They always conceded just before I got to smack them. Alright, replay number 3. Yeah, these guys are definitely not the best branded players I've ever played against. At least they're not really setting up the standard branded Enfields. Not really sure, yeah, not really sure about that one. Hope you guys are appreciating the 3,000 gems I spent for the cosmetics for this deck, by the way. I thought it was obviously, you have to get them for the video if I'm playing a Chaos Max deck. I have to show off the Chaos Max dude and the board and all that kind of stuff. Whether or not this is worth 3,000 gems, I'm not particularly sure, but at least the deck box and the sleeves look fantastic. That's pretty good as well. Oh shit, it's got a stone, holy. Alright. Alright, activating my extra Foolish Burial. But by the way, the only reason we're playing a single copy of this card is just because it's a good search off of your Triple Tactics Thrust. Considering the amount of cards in your extra deck this thing can choose to send, this thing at very worst, you can just use its effect, draw a card by sending a copy of your Garura, wherever it is, just sending a copy of your Garura to the graveyard, so at very worst, it's just a draw one, so can't really go wrong with that. And at best, you just got access to destroying back row, destroying front row, returning cards to hand, all that kind of stuff, all just off of a thrust if you need it. But it's definitely not mandatory. Alright, so unfortunately my opponent had a negate for the Servant, but thankfully, Ghost Bell is actually a negate the activation, meaning although this is once per turn, it technically wasn't activated, so I can use another one if I search for it with Thrust. Alright, Talon's going to be looking at his hand to make sure he's got no further hand traps to annoy me, which he has 2 Pot of Avarices. Anyway. So I'm grabbing my Nadir Servant. Nadir Servant searching for my Ecclesia. Going to be sending a copy of my Negate to the graveyard actually, because you want to keep a monster on my opponent's field. So I'm going to keep this thing on the field, reducing its attack to 0 because it only gains attack thanks to its effect. So it's negated, has 0 attack. Ecclesia searching my Maximus, and yeah, my opponent's about to get absolutely slapped here. So through a Solemn, through a hand trap, and through this card's potential destruction, we're now going to be... So that's 3 disruptions played through, and now we're going to absolutely slam our opponent. Alright. Giving us a search. There's our monster. There's our spell. And we can actually use the spare Maximus for material here if we want to keep the cards on the field, which I think I do. Summoning out the Chaos Max. And yeah, my opponent conceded again. No one lets me lethal them, man. It's messed up. Alright. Yeah, no one lets me lethal them. I think we're up to this guy. So 3 more replays. Alright, so there was another Kashtira player, which I think might be this one. I don't quite remember. Yeah, there's another Kashtira player, and this one actually set up a bit better of an Enfield than the last one. This guy actually did some Kashtira gameplay, I think. Oh yeah, this guy was actually playing the tier stuff too. This guy set up quite the Enfield. That also meant I wasn't actually able to lethal him, I believe, but it didn't matter. So I think I think I wiped out enough of his field where he didn't have anything left. Maybe I did lethal him and I don't remember correctly, I'm not sure. Either way, some Nadoi's Kashtira stuff, doing tier limit cash bullshit. My god. Before ending on a copy of Arise Heart, and I believe he makes a rank 4 as well. He does. Time Thief Redoer for potential summon during his opponent's turn. Got the Floodgate on the field and a Banish, and the Skyrim for a negate as well. Alright, main phase. I'm just going to activate Raigeki because there's no actual spell and trap card negate here. He's going to chain this card, which does absolutely nothing because he's still got this thing on the field, so everything just gets banished. Raigeki the field. He'll still get to bring back his special summon negate. But that's fine. I'm sure there is various different ways we can play through that with this hand. Iblee into Almiraj. Summon back the Iblee. Triple Tactics Thrust, searching for my Nadir Servant. Now be very careful with Nadir Servant, because Iblee, Nadir Servant stops you doing extra deck summons, so you want to do your Iblee summon before you use this card, otherwise you won't be able to go into the Elite Monster and give your opponent the Iblee. You can just normal summon Iblee and crash it into one of your opponent's monsters and give it to your opponent that way, but ideally you want to go for your Elite Monster first, then go for your Nadir Servant. I think that goes for most of your Dogmatika cards. They have, yeah, and that was actually going to be lethal there. So that was going to be a 1-card combo into lethal, but unfortunately my opponent conceded before we got to show it off. Yeah, I basically saved that replay because it was me breaking probably one of the better boards for this video, because there wasn't actually that many insane fields, so I wanted to show off at least, like, one insane field we sort of broke. But, yeah, unfortunately our opponent conceded. That was going to lead to lethal there through the same 1-card combo you've seen before. Our opponent had a 0-attack Iblee on the field. He was very, very dead. Alright. Because, yeah, Nadir Servant was going to send the card to the graveyard to pop our opponent's monster or send it back to hand or whatever. He was just dead. Alright, so up against a Sword Soul player. I came across a couple of Sword Soul players, actually. A lot of people trying out the new structure deck by the looks of things. New structure you get through the friend event. Alright. Which, by the way, if you are new to the game and you're looking for a friend code to use, I have on my community tab, I have my friend code thing on there that you can just type in and it'll give you the stuff. Or you can type in one of the codes from the many people in the comments that are looking for people to complete the event with. So, plenty of codes out there and they'll all easily complete the event. And give you a Sword Soul structure deck, which is a very good deck, by the way, if you're a new player. So, Lightning Storm going to be baiting out the, well, not even baiting out, just removing the field, because none of these are actually a negate for spell and trap cards, just a banish. Bye-bye his field. Triple Tactics Talent going to be looking at my opponent's hand to make sure he has nothing more annoying in there. He has a Bestial, better get rid of that. Cynet Mining going to be discarding, grabbing my Iblee. Mining, by the way, is of course searchable off of your Thrust, which is why we're playing a single copy of it. So you can grab your Iblee fairly easily in a lot of games. Summon my Linguriboh, give my opponent an Iblee. Alright, searching my Ecclesia, getting a card draw as well, grabbing a Thrust. Alright, there's my Dogmatikamatrix. 2 cards, summon 1. Sending the Herald for an extra search as well to grab the Chaos Maxx. Gonna boost the shit out of my Linguriboh, making him have a ton of attack. Alright, searching for the Chaos Form. Chaos Form going to be summoning. $4,000 double piercing, and we did actually get a replay where we got to smack our opponent without them conceding, so props to you, Mr. Linguriboh, whatever your name was. Props to for letting me actually lethal you for a change. Alright, final replay. And this must be the replay where I didn't quite lethal someone, so I had to, like, it was a branded replay, I'm pretty sure. Alright, so it's an alright hand, but it's kind of reliant on, getting this thrust off, so we're going to try to make sure our opponent uses the monster effect during our turn. I was holding my Ash Blossom here for Branded Infusion, but unfortunately, my opponent searched for the branded lost, and he had the limited to 1 branded fusion just in opening hand. As they do, as they always do. And because this thing's on the field, I can't even Ash Blossom it anymore, so whatever. Very classic. But I think he didn't even end on that strong of an infield either. I'm not really sure what's up with these branded players and ending on just like really meh fields. These are sort of the branded infields that I expect when the deck was like initially released. After all the new support, I swear they should be ending on better infields than this. I'm pretty sure he just ended on like a Mirror Jade Pass, not exactly the most insane infield. Alright, Feather Duster to remove the back row, or at least trigger it. Use a Crossout, which he doesn't know what I'm playing, so it's fine. Not even playing Impermanence. Alright, Ecclesia going to be summoning, giving us a search. He used Ash Blossom, which is fine, because now we've got our Thrust active, and we already had Dogmatikamatrix in hand, which is what we're going to search for with this card anyway. So Thrust going to be searching. I'm not sure if I was meant to search for Nadir Servant here, if I was meant to search for maybe Talents and try to steal his 3000 attack monster here. I'm not sure what was best, but in the end I decided to grab my Golden Cloud to put this thing back into the extra deck, which in doing so means it won't get its nuke effect during the end of the turn, which is what happens if you destroy it normally, or send it to the graveyard normally. Which means I actually don't have lethal damage here. I summon my Dogmatika. Herald's going to be summoning. Or searching, I mean. Okay, my Chaos Maxx, sending again, searching from with the spell card. It was close to lethal, but unfortunately my opponent had banished my... I don't remember if he had lethal even with 15 on field. Yeah, not quite lethal. My opponent has 1 card left, or... yeah, only 1 card left, so hopefully this 1 Ash Blossom should be enough to defend us. And Chaos Maxx by himself is untargetable and indestructible, so... he is fairly formidable to deal with. Maybe not for a Mirror Jade, but... hopefully this 1 Ash Blossom should be enough to defend us, and... yeah, he'll be dead on the following turn. Branded Fusion being used. Finally we can Ash Blossom that thing, and I believe he concedes immediately afterwards. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you don't, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, not the most top tier deck list around. It's certainly a fun deck list. You can definitely climb the ranks with it, but do keep in mind, if you are investing into this deck list with your gems, you're not going to be getting a super high tier competitive deck list that's going to be winning you tournaments or anything like that. Just a for fun deck list that's good for ladder, but probably not too much good for other things. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you don't, leave a like, subscribe. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.